Welcome to yet another informative and yet exciting episode of Market Views, a show that delivers an in-depth analysis of Zimbabwe local capital markets. Now that the month of July is now behind us, but well, it has been one of the most exciting months, especially for our local capital markets. This is the same month that the ZSE holdings listed on the ZSE main board. That's on the 9th of July and trading commenced on the 11th of July. This is also the same month that the OK Zimbabwe shareholders approved the capital raise plan on the 17th of July at the extraordinary general meeting, and the rights offer opened on the 21st of July and is closing today. On the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, of course, no new listing has been recorded over the month, but looking at August, this is also the same month that Kavango Resources is looking up to list on the 29th day of this month. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot that has been happening around our local capital markets. Looking even at the month of July alone, on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, we have seen it recording the highest surge in market capitalization on month from January. And on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, we've seen also the BOSS reaching its highest entire market capitalization since its inception in 2020. So let's look into these aspects, just have an overview of our markets, and what's the best to do it than to have some of our expert analysts join us on set. Today, I'm joined by my brother, who is also a fellow analyst, Tapiwa Nashe Kusereka. Tapiwa, welcome on set.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so let's dive straight into it. Let's start by looking at the performance of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, right? It surged the market capitalization by 5%, which has been the highest surge month on month from January to date. I think following a 2% surge in June and a 3% surge in May. But around January, February, it has been on a decline. So what do you make out of this? Firstly, from a market capitalization point of view, and of course, just the performance overall on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange over the month of July.
Okay, thank you, Koda.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that as 2025 starts, whole market started on slow motion.
Yeah.
And there was no much activities on the exchange market due to a lot of factors, including confidence, investor confidence. Investors were not that confident.
Taking into account that actually it has closed 2024 in the red. And
exactly, due to some previous
the liquidity dynamics
issues, So yeah, right now the market is gaining a lot of traction due to improvement in terms of market copy sentiments and investors' confidence, taking advantages of a bit of economic stability
that has been recorded on the ZIG.
Exactly, on our local currency. And there's a lot of things which are taking place in the market. For example, the rate of inflation is a bit low, and the exchange rate of our currency is a bit stable. Those factors are giving the local investors, both the retail and the wholesale, which is institutional investors, they are now believing in our currency. So that's the reason why we are seeing a lot of activities and a growth on our capital markets in Zimbabwe, which is Zimbabwe Stock Exchange.
Okay, thank you. So if I'm just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm picking the sense that you're like, of course, last year we saw the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange surging. I think in March to about 3.6 billion, in July to about 4.2 billion. But of course, we do know what drove those peak moments, which was the issue to do with the printing and the liquidity aspect.
Yeah, true.
Right. So if I'm getting your sense correctly, it's just that the market has slowly started to react to fundamentals as opposed to the liquidity dynamics.
Exactly.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Now looking at the VFX, we have seen, it was introduced in 2020, but in terms of activity, liquidity, or even the movement of the market capitalization, it's been fairly flat over the past years, right? But yeah, we saw even in the first half of 2025, I think around April, we saw it peaking, I think about around 1.3 billion, and we thought, wow. But now looking at the month of July, the VFX climbed by 10%, and it has reached its record highest market cap since inception. That's around 1.44 billion, closing the month of July. Yeah. So let's unpack as well. What's your sentiment on the VFX performance for July?
Yeah, I believe the major driver of Victoria Falls Stock Exchange is based on market sentiments improvement. Investors are now confident of the knowledge capital market, which is VFX.
Okay.
Yeah. So
from a currency point of view.
Yes. So a lot of investors, I believe that they are now moving to Victoria Falls Exchange, especially for those who are appreciating currency protection and those who are appreciating repatriation
profits.
Of proceeds. So those who are looking into investing in a stable currency,
yes,
most of them, they are shifting to Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. That's the reason why we are seeing or anticipating a convergence between the market cap of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange and the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. If you look correctly on numbers, you see market cap of around 1.4, that's 1.6. So myself, I anticipate a convergence. A lot of investors migrating to Victoria's Falls Stock Exchange as they appreciate investing in dollar denominated, which is a little bit stable.
Okay, thank you. And I think for the benefit of our audience, you know what's interesting in my view, looking at the VFX for July, I think it closed with 6 counters in the green and only 2 counters which were in the red, Edgar's and Exia. And I'm sure perhaps you know what led to us that was Edgar's also released its Q1 trading update, right? Of course, which might have sparked some negative sentiments right there. But if you were to look at Padenga, right, we're talking of gold, of course, when we now want to link it with the macros. Exactly. If you were to look at Simbisa, it also released its trading update. If you were to look at Insco, a lot has always been said of how it was always undervalued, right? Just taking a look at that, all of these counters, they have been in the gainers, right? It's not only one particular counter that moved. And looking at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange as well, some of the interesting counters there that were part of the, the gainers. If you were to look at even the heavyweights, Econet, Delta, but of course Seedco was the one that led those gainers list. So maybe if I'm to ask you, what could have possibly drive this performance for both the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange and the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange from the gainers and the losers point of view? From the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, 16 counters were gainers and 15 were losers. Then from the VFX, 6 counters were the gainers and only 2 were losers. What could have drove this?
What I believe is that one of the major drivers of those growth on both capital markets is mainly anchored on.
Okay.
I believe that there's an improvement in it, and there is improvement in activities based on that liquidity. So that's the reason why we are seeing a growth both on Victoria Falls Stock Exchange and Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. But on Victoria's Falls Stock Exchange, I think previously there was a dip. So I see a return of some of the investors which were dropped in the past. So yeah, that's the reason why if you
Some
check,
repricing.
if you check on the curve, that's the reason why it's a flat overall. Because I'm sure that they're just referring to the normal level.
Okay, now on that same aspect of liquidity, if you were to look at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, right, Econet comprised 80, Econet and Delta comprised, I think, about over 80% of the entire monthly turnover for July. And meanwhile, on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, I think Simbisa comprised 91% of the of July's turnover. I mean, what do you make of this from the liquidity point of view? Is it the issue that both Econet and Delta released their Q1 trading update, as well as Simbisa released its trading update for the period, and these are investors that we're trying now to obviously take a position out of these results, and what possibly, I mean, could have drive liquidity, especially in these particular counters?
Yeah, I believe those companies which you mentioned mature, they are mature stocks, and I'm sure a lot of investors they like to invest on stable stocks.
Heavyweights.
Yeah, that's the reason why we are noticing a lot of pressure on Simbisa, Delta, Econet, but from liquidity point of view, it's very dangerous because that liquidity is very concentrated. For example, on Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, is concentrated on Delta and Econet.
So what can be done to increase liquidity on other counters?
I think some stocks must improve their appeals, or some companies must improve their appeals to investors, so that investors may find something to invest. Because as it stands, it's very difficult for investors to diversify them, because it seems as if some stocks or shares are a bit not liquid enough. If you check on Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, the activities is very concentrated on Simbisa, and others are a bit stuck. So we need an improvement on other companies in terms of appealing to retail and also investors.
Okay.
Yeah. So, say.
All right. No, I totally get your point of view. That's why Delta and Econet continues to be the top two counters by market cap, respectively, on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, and even on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, there's been some interesting developments, and I would want to hear your comment on that. I think Westprop used to be the biggest counter on the VFX by market cap, but yeah, we've seen it being replaced by Insco over the month of July. Insco is now the biggest counter by market cap, and of course we have Padenga being the third after Westprop, and Simbisa being the fourth. So those are the top four counters on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. I mean, what's your views on the developments, especially from a market cap point of view? This could be our last question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I believe there is an improvement in terms of retail investor activities in Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. Yeah, if we look at the price of Westpro, it's expensive for retail investors. So I believe stocks like Simbisa, they are gaining traction, improvement in retail investors as they move stock exchange to stocks. So I believe that's the major contribution of retail investors right now on Victoria Stock Exchange, which means the impact of maybe, for example, block trading by institutional investors is now competing against the chance of retail investors.
Okay.
Is all to say.
Wow. There you have it. What do you make of it? Do you have different sentiments? Well, would like to hear your thoughts and your views against the term market views. But thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for tuning in. We do hope that if you have something to share, you feel free to drop it down in the comment section below. And if you have something that you want us to tackle on, just give us a heads up and then we'll look into it. But aside from that, I think this is the wrap of our today's recording. I mean, Tapio, thank you. It's been an interesting session. Thank you so much. So from myself, the crew behind the scene, we thank you. We do wish you a fruitful week. Please do take care. Bye for now.